So Marvel just wrapped up their coverage for D23, which is all I really cared about. I'm not going to be covering any of the Lucasfilm announcements here. I'm just not really a Star Wars guy. I just tuned in for the Marvel stuff. And my expectation was pretty high heading into this. You know, we've heard tons of different rumors and leaks and speculation and all that kind of stuff. So I was pretty excited for this event, and I was expecting some bombs. I was expecting some pretty big stuff. There was even rumors that we were going to get a full cast. I mean, I think most people expected to at least get the cast, or at least get Reed Richards announced for the Fantastic Four. We didn't even get that. That kind of disappointed me. We got Matt Shakman, the official announcement of Matt Shakman. Of course, we heard in the trades like Hollywood Reporter that he had signed on to direct the Fantastic Four. So that wasn't really news. We just got the confirmation from Kevin Feige. And that's basically the best way to sum up this D23. They didn't really reveal anything new, anything groundbreaking. It was mostly just going over things that were already announced from Comic-Con several months ago. And then a couple of new things. I say that in air quotes if you're watching, like the Werewolf by Night Halloween special. We heard about that in the trades. Or at least if you're like me and you keep up with that stuff. I mean, we've heard months ago that Michael Giacchino would be directing this Halloween special. But now it was officially announced. And I guess the only other new thing was that we got the official lineup for the Thunderbolts film, which was, I think it was Ghost, from Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then I think we have Bucky, Red Falcon, or Red Guardian, Red Guardian. We have Yelena Belova. We have the Louise Dreyfus, Valentine. I can't even remember her name. The girl, the woman from the Falcon in the Winter Soldier series, and the character that popped up at the end of Black Widow. We have her, and then we have Taskmaster. So that was officially announced as well. Pretty much everybody in the lineup for the Thunderbolts film didn't surprise me. What did surprise me was that Red Guardian was going to be a part of it, Taskmaster, and I was surprised to see that Baron Zemo wasn't in that lineup. Now, he could still be in the film, maybe as sort of like the Jared Leto role of the Suicide Squad. Maybe you have the team of anti-heroes, and then you have this sort of villain that's kind of, sort of twisting the wheels and controlling everything behind the scenes. Maybe he'll play that role, or maybe he just won't be in the film at all. So who knows? But overall, I was pretty disappointed with D23, and I kind of feel like I wasted my time sticking around watching the whole thing. I was actually watching a live stream, I don't even think there was there wasn't an official live stream covering it, but there was like other YouTubers and stuff like that. So I was watching some live streams of people just kind of hovering over Twitter, checking things out, waiting for announcements. And but yeah, this will be a pretty short podcast because I'm only going to be talking about this. But let's just, before I give you all of my thoughts, let's just go over everything that was talked about at D23. Okay, so they started with Ironheart. They showed footage for it, which wasn't officially released by Marvel, but they showed footage exclusively at D23. I imagine in the coming months we'll maybe get that look to the public. So that was announced. I'll be honest, I'm not really very excited for Ironheart. I know the character of Riri Williams is going to be in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Speaking of which, they showed more footage for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which I am actually very excited for that film. I think Wakanda Forever has the potential. Now, I know this doesn't, you could say this about any Marvel film coming out, but I think Wakanda Forever has the potential to be the best film out of Phase 4. Yes, I'm saying better than Spider-Man No Way Home, better than Multiverse of Madness, better than Thor Love and Thunder. I think it has that potential. I think the biggest thing it has going for it is, I mean, obviously it has to deal with a lot of challenging, subject matter, like the death of Chadwick Boseman, how that's going to play into the narrative, and doing it in a way that they're not exploiting his death to make a good story, doing it in a way that will honor not only his character, but of course the actor himself. That's a pretty tall order, but I think with Ryan Coogler, of course, anybody that's familiar with Ryan Coogler, he is an exceptional filmmaker. I don't really think he's made a bad film yet, so I'm confident in his direction. Of course, the cast is incredible. A lot of the, familiar characters returning from the first film. But I think just the quality of the film looks great. If that first trailer is an indicator of anything, I think we have a prestigious Marvel film in front of us. An expensive Marvel film in front of us too. You can tell that the visual effects look amazing. I'm sure the sound is going to be great. I'm sure the soundtrack of the film is going to be wonderful, just like the first film was. So that footage that was released, the new footage that was released for Wakanda Forever, was not released to the public. So once again, I'm sure in about a month we'll probably see that towards November when the film officially releases. So yeah, they opened up with the Black Panther clip, and then we got Ironheart, then Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, which is one of my most anticipated films of next year, just in general. I loved the short but sweet appearance of Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror in Loki Season 1. There's just so many stuff. I didn't write any notes down, so this is kind of all off the top of my head. So if I seem a little unorganized here, forgive me. I'm just, I just heard about all these announcements, so I'm kind of just... This is almost like my initial thoughts, basically. I thought I would just get this out right away instead of waiting a couple of days, because then at that point, hundreds and hundreds of videos are going to be out covering this stuff. So, yeah, they showed Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania footage. It's new footage, not the same footage they showed at Comic-Con, and apparently they gave the audience a better look at Kang's suit. And just more footage in general of Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror. And apparently people are describing him as terrifying. So that's exciting. I don't know how serious. When people say this character looks terrifying or this project looks super dark, I don't always take that incredibly serious. They said that about Moon Knight. People were saying, people that saw Moon Knight early before everybody else did was saying that, it's this incredibly dark take on the character, unlike anything Marvel has done. And it wasn't. So... but I'm still excited for that. Then they showed Werewolf by Night, of course. That they actually released the trailer for that on YouTube, and I gotta admit, I was pretty impressed. I don't think it's a part of the MCU whatsoever. I think it's simply just a nice little one-off Halloween special. I'm curious as to how long the runtime. Excuse me. I'm curious as to how long the runtime of that project is gonna be. So yeah, here we go. Werewolf by Night. Yeah, that was pretty interesting. It's definitely got a film noir stylized feel to it. Everything's in black and white. Looks pretty interesting. Then we got the first trailer for Secret Invasion, which I wasn't super interested in this show just because we didn't really know enough about it. I figured they were going to deviate from the source material of the actual Secret Invasion storyline, because that in and of itself is almost like an Avenger. It's almost like an Avengers level story to tell. So when I heard that they were turning it into a Disney Plus series, I figured they were definitely going to deviate from the comics, which they are. But it looks very interesting. I'm liking that Nick Fury is going to be pretty much the protagonist of this entire series. I love seeing him pop up throughout the MCU, but I like seeing him have more of more of a strong role. And almost, like I said, leading something. He kind of co-led Captain Marvel, but it's nice to see that he's going to be pretty much the main protagonist that we'll be following throughout that series. And then we got Emilia Clarke in that series as well. I can't remember the actor's name, but the actor who played pretty much the head honcho Skrull in Captain Marvel, he's going to be returning that as well. Looks very much kind of like a spy, espionage kind of, mystery series. So it looks pretty cool. And then we got footage for Echo. I'm not going to lie, not really interested in Echo. I'll have to see more to kind of get excited for that. But Vincent D'Onofrio is going to be returning as Kingpin. Apparently, Matt Murdock will not be returning in that series, which honestly, that doesn't really bother me because we're getting a lot of him soon. Of course, we're going to be getting him very soon in She-Hulk. I imagine maybe even the next episode he's going to appear. And then, of course, we have his 18 episode, which is 18 episodes. That's crazy. We have his 18 episode series that's going to be coming, I think, next year. No, I think it's coming 2024. So we're going to be seeing him soon. So the fact that he's not going to be popping up in Echo, that doesn't really bother me very much. But it's nice to see that Vincent D'Onofrio, who of course didn't die at the end of Hawkeye. I never thought he died at the end of Hawkeye, especially since it was an off-screen death. You can never trust those in the MCU. For those of you who are listening, I was just taking a sip of my iced coffee. So then that kind of segues us into the next thing they talked about was Daredevil Born Again. D'Onofrio, I'm reading all this off of CNBC by Sarah Whitten. So they reported that, let me read the article here. D'Onofrio, who had been on stage to promote Echo, was joined by Charlie Cox to share footage of Matthew Murdock, a.k.a. Daredevil and She-Hulk. No footage was shown from the show. Of course, that's because it hasn't even started filming. D'Onofrio will appear in the series. Okay, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, I saw photos of the both of them on stage talking about it. And since they hadn't filmed anything yet, I think they start shooting next year. They just showed a little teaser of Matt Murdock in She-Hulk, so that was pretty interesting. Captain America New World Order. So at this point, after Daredevil, I was like, okay, when are they going to start announcing the things that we really care about, like Deadpool, Fantastic Four, maybe even some, Loki, which they did announce Loki. We'll get into that. Maybe some possible mutant stuff, right? I was waiting for the real announcements to start kicking in, and at this point, I thought, okay, at this point, we got to hear something, otherwise, I'm starting to lose faith, and I started to lose faith. So they announced Captain America New World Order. Anthony Mackie returns as Captain America. Of course, that makes sense. And he's going to be joined by Danny Ramirez, who plays Joaquin Torres from the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. Carl Lumbly as Isaiah Bradley, who was the older guy from that series, who I'm actually pretty excited to see him return. Tim Blake Nelson as Samuel Stearns, a.k.a. the Leader. So one piece of information that wasn't talked about at Comic-Con in regards to Captain America New World Order was Moon Knight. So it's been heavily reported that Moon Knight, the next time we're going to see him, is not going to be in a season 2 of Moon Knight. Rather, it's going to be him co-starring in this new Captain America New World Order film. Now, because they didn't talk about that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Maybe because that's a pretty big deal. Maybe they're going to wait for at some point next year to talk about that, but no mention of Moon Knight at all. Not even in just this, but in general. So we'll have to wait and see if he's actually going to be a part of that film. Next, they talked about Thunderbolts. So yeah, as I touched upon with Thunderbolts in the beginning, they announced the cast will be Julia Louis-Dreyfus as Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. That's the character I was trying to remember. That's such a fucking long name. David Harbour as Red Guardian. Hannah Joan Kamen as Ghost. My bad, excuse my pronunciation. Olga Kurylenko as Taskmaster. Wyatt Russell as John Walker, a.k.a. U.S. Agent. I forgot to mention him. Florence Pugh as Elena Belova, and Sebastian Stan as a Winter Soldier. So, I mean, this film could kind of be like the dark horse of Phase 5. I think it has a potential to be pretty interesting. It all is just kind of contingent on the story, right? What are they going to be doing? Are they just going to copy and paste the Suicide Squad sort of blueprint and just, the government bands them together. They're a bunch of misfits that, they don't get along at first. And then they, throughout the film, they kind of build chemistry and they have to, they're put up against this ultra kind of threat. I really don't want to see a kind of repeat of that. Make this unique in some kind of way that's going to separate itself so people don't just look at this and call this the MCU Suicide Squad, which is, at least right now, that's what everybody is kind of tagging it as, which makes sense. You can't blame him for it. So yeah, Wyatt Russell is John Walker. I actually liked his character in The Falcon and Winter Soldier. This film, Thunderbolts, and Captain America New World Order are almost like, they feel like basically like spin-offs from that show. A lot of, returning characters, not similar stories, but, I don't know. That's just my opinion. But, but David Harbour was definitely the surprise for me when they showed the lineup of characters, because I didn't think we would see him return in the MCU. I thought, he was a fun character. I'm happy that we're seeing him again, but that definitely surprised me. So that was cool to see. But other than that, I'm still not, jumping out of my seat to see this film. I am a little bit more interested And I love that we're going to continue to see Bucky's arc, Sebastian Stan's arc throughout the MCU. I'm curious to see where his character goes from a storytelling perspective. And quote, this is what Feige said about the film. "It tells you all you need to know about the Thunderbolts when the beloved Winter Soldier is the most stable among them," Feige teased. Did they fuck up in this article? It says the most stable among them. I think they meant to say stable, but, that's neither here nor there. Next, they talked about the Marvels. Brie Larson, Iman Vellani, Teyonah Parris closed out the panel with footage from the upcoming film. Once again, Miss Marvel is a film that I'm going to need to see more footage to really kind of be excited for, because I'll be honest with you, I think the first Captain Marvel was one of the weaker films of the entire MCU. It was just bland, in my opinion. I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was good. I just thought it was kind of mundane, to be quite honest with you. And talking about Iman Vellani, I liked her. I didn't mind her as Miss Marvel, but I thought her series in general was very disappointing. And that's actually her series in general, Miss Marvel, I thought was one of my least favorite things out of the entire MCU. So it's going to take a lot for me to get really, really excited for the Marvels. However, I like Teyonah Parris' character in WandaVision. So I'm actually kind of intrigued to see what they're going to do with her character in this film. But overall, I'm going to need to see more, as I've said that like fucking 4 times now before I get excited for that. So that's everything. So literally, like, running through it again, everything they talked about, we already knew about. They just went into greater detail. So, like, once Comic-Con ended, everybody was saying, like, okay, that was one thing. Comic-Con was one thing, but D23 is going to be another fucking level. They're going to announce the X-Men. I mean, I didn't think they were going to announce the X-Men, but I definitely had high expectations. And I think the biggest thing for me that disappointed me was the Fantastic Four. Like, we already knew Matt Shakman was going to be directing this thing. And I'm excited. I think Matt Shakman's a pretty good director. Of course, for those of you who don't know, he's already worked with Marvel. He directed all 9 episodes of WandaVision, which I think WandaVision is one of the better Disney Plus series. I think it's a little bit overrated, but I definitely think it's up there. I would say behind Loki, it's probably my second favorite series. Oh, Loki. I forgot about that. This is one that I'm very, very excited for. So they showed Loki season 2 footage, and the actor from Everything Everywhere All at Once, the husband character, I forget his name, but he was one of the MVPs of that film, which, by the way, I loved Everything Everywhere All at Once, but he is going to be in the show, and he's going to be playing a TVA worker. I love Loki. Loki is the only Disney Plus Marvel show that I've actually gone back to rewatch several times. Specifically, the episodes that I rewatched the most is episode 1, episode 5, and 6. Those 3 episodes, by far, are my favorite. I love when we get to go to that little world where it's just everything that's been sort of erased or whatever they called it in that show, and you meet Richard E. Grant's. You meet all the different Lokis. I love that. I loved, of course, Jonathan Majors, that whole last episode, which basically was the catalyst to everything that we're going to be seeing soon in the future with the multiverse, which is, if you would have told me like 3 years ago that Loki was going to be arguably one of the most important characters of this next saga of the MCU, I would have thought you were bullshitting me, because it's so unexpected, but I'm so happy they're doing that, because from what's being described by the show, this whole second season is just going to be Loki kind of going around warning everybody about Kang, and apparently the show's going to pick up pretty much right where they left off, and obviously Loki's now in a new timeline, and Hunter B-15 and Agent Mobius, which is Owen Wilson's character, they don't know who he is anymore. This is a completely separate timeline. This is a completely separate universe. They don't have the 3, what were they again? They don't have the Timekeepers anymore. In this universe, Jonathan Majors Kang is known by the TVA. And I imagine we'll probably even see Kang return in the show as well. I mean, I think it's almost guaranteed. So it's, yeah, I can't wait. I've seen behind the scenes footage of them filming. It looks super exciting. That is the one, that and probably, I would say the 3 Disney Plus shows for the foreseeable future that I'm very, very excited for are, the most excited for rather, is Daredevil, Secret Invasion, and Loki, and not in any particular order, although I would probably say Loki's my favorite so far. But yeah, and oh yeah, I'm forgetting about other things. Yeah, they talked about Armor Wars. They said that Secret Invasion is going to lead into Armor Wars with Don Cheadle. You know, it could be interesting. I like Don Cheadle as Rhodey, but yeah, so if I knew that this was pretty much going to be everything that they were talking about, I probably would have just waited to hear the announcements on like Twitter and on social media. I probably would have just gone about my day. I literally like spent my whole day preparing for this podcast, watching live streams, keeping up with all the news, just to be pretty much disappointed. So yeah, where are we here? Yeah, we're about 20 minutes in. What was I going to say? I completely slipped my mind. Yeah, so going back to the Fantastic Four, like, it's one thing that they didn't announce the cast, but that's not even really why this thing was kind of an overall underwhelming disappointment. They still had time. They still could have announced some pretty cool things, you know what I mean? But like, they could have announced Deadpool. They could have announced these other projects, and I guess they're just not ready to do that. So that was a little bit disappointing. Now let's, I don't want to sound too negative here. Let's focus on some things that intrigued me and that definitely excited me. Number one was Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. This film is going to come out right around my birthday in February next year, and I just think this movie is going to be crazy. We have Bill Murray coming in. Apparently the film is going to take place mostly in the quantum realm, which I've been so curious to see them kind of explore that side of Ant-Man's character more. We've only kind of seen glimpses, like the Avengers had to travel through the quantum realm briefly to sort of get in these different points of history in Avengers Endgame, and we saw the quantum realm, like I said, briefly in the first 2 Ant-Man films. But I'm excited to see that now they're going to really be exploring the quantum realm in its entirety, maybe kind of going through that city, that quantum city that was teased, I think, in the first Ant-Man or the second. And I just love the supporting characters in the sort of Ant-Man franchise with Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas, I think his name is, and Michelle Pfeiffer, all very talented performers. But yeah, that is probably the project that I'm really excited for. They didn't talk about Guardians. They didn't talk about anything like that. So that was kind of, whatever. But yeah, Loki and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I'm very, very excited for those projects, and I wish we could have seen the footage that they shown to the audience. So yeah, to kind of wrap up my thoughts here about D23, nothing special, and to be honest, I think this is the first time that Marvel has kind of let me down, to be quite frank with you, not to be over exaggerative or sensitive to just try and get clicks. I just feel like I wasted 2 hours just sitting around waiting to hear something new, and there really wasn't anything new that was mentioned or even shown. I guess we got, a trailer for Secret Invasion and stuff like that, but, we didn't hear about any movie announcements, anything like that. So that kind of just left me, wanting more. Am I too greedy? Am I asking for too much here? Let me know down in the comments below. Were you guys satisfied with D23, or are you kind of like me? Do you feel like it was just sort of bland and underwhelming? I hate to be negative. I don't like being negative, but I'm not just gonna be a cheerleader and just kind of praise everything here on Marvel. I definitely was expecting a lot more, and I feel like we didn't get even a fraction of that. But yeah, so let me know what you guys think. That's gonna be all my thoughts about D23. The future is still bright for Marvel. I don't want to sound like there's nothing to be excited for. There's lots of things to be excited for. But my issue is that this whole coverage, this whole sort of day revolving around Marvel, not just Marvel, but the Marvel panel just talked about things that we already knew were coming. So it's like, what else? unless you were there in the audience and you got to see the new footage of some of these projects, if you're somebody sitting from home like me, there really was nothing you had to tune into because everything that was talked about was already basically covered at Comic-Con at San Diego a couple months ago. But I'm going to transition and talk about She-Hulk for a bit because I haven't talked about the show thus far. 4 episodes of it are out. The first episode I loved. It was a breath of fresh air. I thought it was definitely a lot different from anything that Marvel's done in terms of, you know, their Disney Plus shows and just in terms of the humor itself. Not a lot of fourth wall breaking, but some fourth wall breaking here and there. I'd say right now I'm kind of middle in the road overall of the show. The second episode, not bad, not as good as the first episode. Third episode I didn't really like. In the fourth episode, I'll be honest, I didn't really like the fourth episode either, to be quite frank with you. So second episode, good. First episode, great. I love the first episode. I was all in. I'm really kind of hoping we're going to start seeing, Matt Murdock and some of these other characters soon. I love the She-Hulk character, and I don't think that the CGI is as bad as other people say it is. I think people are kind of holding the standards a little bit too high. I still think the CGI and the special effects and everything is pretty solid for the most part. There's a couple scenes where, I look at Jen when she's in Hulk form and I'm thinking, But overall, I think the CGI and everything is pretty good. And I like Tatiana Maslany, the actress who plays She-Hulk. I think she's incredible. I think she's got a great charm to her, and she's funny. And the character itself, I think, is pretty entertaining. And, I like this sort of potential World War Hulk scenario that might be being teased with Bruce Banner and stuff like that. So I'm curious to see where that leads. But overall, I'm not blown away by the show. I certainly wouldn't say it's my favorite show so far. Granted, we're only 4 out of 9 episodes in, so there's still a lot more story to be told. So I'll have to kind of gauge my thoughts as we continue. But so far, I think it's just decent. I don't love it. I don't think it's great, but I don't think it's bad, and I certainly don't think it's terrible. I think it's just kind of middle of the road so far. But yeah, I already know once I turn off the camera here and I'm in post-production editing this podcast, I already know I'm going to think of something that I wanted to say that I didn't say. But, fuck, it is what it is, right? All right, guys, pretty short episode because I'm just covering all the D23 stuff here. And let me know what you guys think about D23, about She-Hulk, everything Marvel. Are you excited? Were you dissatisfied? Let me know down in the comments below. You guys have a great day, and I'll see you on the next podcast.